Well, hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is that you are watching this video. We are entering into chapter 9, which is homeostasis. It has three subtopics. The first subtopic is the concept of homeostasis. So in the first subtopic, you learn about what is homeostasis and what is its control system. And 9.2, you learn about the negative feedback mechanism, and you'll practice explaining the negative feedback mechanism using the example of blood glucose. Okay, so 9.1 and 9.2 is about concept of homeostasis and negative feedback mechanism. Dia agak pendek, agak ringkas. Yang lebih panjang adalah 9.3. The longest subtopic is 9.3, the human homeostatic organ. So this one, we will talk about the structure and the function of kidneys. So if you look here, the content for kidney is a lot longer. Mungkin ada yang kamu ingat-ingat dari SPM. If you still remember, that is very good. If you are forgetting, okay, time to work a bit harder this week. Okay, so 9.1 and 9.2 ni kita akan tengok secara ringkas hari ini. And 9.3, mulai dari esok, kamu akan bekerja dengan lebih keras lah untuk faham dan ingat semua ni. Let us go straight into 9.1, which is the concept of homeostasis. The objective for this subtopic is I expect you to be able to explain the concept of homeostasis and describe the homeostatic control system. Definisi dan jelaskan secara ringkas. Okay, let's get into it. So the word homeostasis came from two separate words. Dia berasal dari perkataan homeo, which means sameness, and stasis, which means standing still. So homeostasis refers to the physiological process by which organisms maintain a constant and balanced physical and chemical factor within internal body environment even when the external environment is changing. Dalam arti kata lain, homeostasis, physiological process, yang jaga condition dalam badan kamu. Dia jaga supaya suhu badan kita masih dalam range badan kita suka. pH dalam darah kita dalam range, what is the word range? Range yang badan kita suka. Kandungan gula dalam darah dalam range yang badan kita suka. Maintain a constant, balanced physical and chemical factor within our internal body environment. Even when the outside is hot or when there is no food outside or mandi di lautan, the air laut or something, your internal body is not gonna change. So every organ in our body will play a role in maintaining a constant internal environment. Not just one, not just two organs, but every organ in our body will be involved in maintaining that constant internal environment. So we have an example using liver. So liver can maintain a constant level of glucose and amino acids in our blood. And we can look at that a little bit later. When we talk about homeostasis, we are talking about the controlled conditions and the stimulus that affects the controlled condition. Apa benda kah controlled condition? Controlled condition is each monitored variable such as body temperature, blood pressure, blood glucose level. So whatever benda yang badan kita sedang detect dan mau jaga, itu adalah controlled condition. Macam suhu badan, tekanan darah, all that stuff. So a stimulus is any disruption that changes a controlled condition. Apa-apa benda yang mengganggu dan mengubah controlled condition adalah stimulus. Why is homeostasis important? Homeostasis is important because with it, it enables organisms, enables the adaptation of organisms to the changes of external environment. So, persekitaran kita mungkin berubah sedikit, tapi homeostasis membolehkan kita untuk adapt, menyesuaikan diri. This constant internal environment also enables the chemical reactions to continue to occur in cells. You remember our enzymes, it requires a certain temperature, a certain pH, a certain concentration of substrate for it to function efficiently. So homeostasis can ensure that our internal environment still allows these chemical reactions to occur. And also with homeostasis, homeostasis enables the organism to live in different habitats. Because of the homeostasis in your body, whether you are in Malaysia, in the Sahara Desert, in England, in Antarctica, in the bottom of the ocean in a submarine, you are still able to live comfortably without dying. Okay, maybe you die, but for other reasons. But homeostasis will make sure that you survive even though you are changing your habitat. Okay, so that is the concept of homeostasis. Tapi homeostasis ni, dia ada sistem, dia ada step dia. So all homeostatic control mechanism will have three interdependent components for the variable being regulated. Bila kita cakap mau explain macam mana homeostasis ni berlaku, kita perlu cakap pasal tiga watak yang penting ini. Tiga watak yang penting ini adalah receptor, control center, and effector. These are the three interdependent components which are involved in the control mechanism. So, the first one is receptor. Receptor are specialized cells that detect a stimulus. So the stimulus can be physical or chemical. And they will monitor changes in a controlled condition. Dia mungkin bukan sukat secara kuantitatif. Mungkin dia bukan sukat 37 degree Celsius secara tepat. Tapi dia akan detect kalau control condition itu ada naik ataupun turun. So it's gonna monitor the changes in a controlled condition. And then, if there is a change, it will send impulse or chemical signals to the control center. In the control center, usually this is somewhere in the brain, the control center will receive that information. Tadi receptor ada benda berlaku dan dia send message kan. So control center is going to receive that message. It's going to evaluate the input. Dia tengok, dia baca, dia nilai. Okay. And then it will set the range of values within which a controlled condition should be maintained. Okay, say for example, the body temperature is now 36 degrees Celsius. Body should be 37 degrees Celsius. So dia akan nilai, dia akan tengok apa range yang diterima. Selepas tu dia akan generate output command. It will generate output commands when they are needed. If something needs to change in the body, then the control system will generate output command. Dia akan tulis, sila panaskan ke 37 degrees Celsius. Okay? It generated the output command. And then output from the control center can occur in different forms. Okay, ini boleh dalam pelbagai bentuk. Dia mungkin dalam bentuk nerve impulse, mungkin dalam bentuk hormon, ataupun dalam bentuk chemical signal yang lain. And then it's basically just gonna take that output and give it to the next guy. And the next guy is the effector. Benda yang membawa effect. So this is the organ that respond to the stimuli and bring about a response. So it will receive that output from the control center and produces a response or effect that changes the controlled condition. Dia baca dan dia ikut arahan, dia mengambil tindakan. So this effector response feedback, this effector response will feedback and influence the magnitude of the stimulus by either depressing it or enhancing it. Effector ni, tindakan effector ini, dia boleh mengubah efek stimulus sama ada dengan mengurangkan stimulus ataupun meningkatkan, membesarkan, enhancing it, meningkatkan stimulus. Make the stimulus stronger. Okay, kalau dia kasih kurang stimulus, that is negative feedback. Kalau dia menguatkan stimulus, itu adalah positive feedback. Okay, so this is a flow chart to kind of explain what I have mentioned before. Oh, where did I go? How was my face? Okay, I'm back. All right. So this is a flow chart to kind of give a picture and to summarize what I mentioned just now. So we start with a stimulus. Okay, ada stimulus yang mengganggu homeostasis, yang mengganggu controlled condition. So controlled condition sama ada meningkat atau menurun. Receptor akan detect bila controlled condition itu ada perubahan. Receptor akan bagi message kepada control center. Dan control center akan nilai message yang dia dapat daripada receptor. Kemudian dia akan pilih reaction, effect yang perlu diambil. Dia akan pilih tindakan apa yang perlu diambil. Dan kalau perlu ambil tindakan, dia akan send message kepada effectors. So it starts with with a stimulus that changes controlled condition. Receptors detect that change in the controlled condition, sends a message to the control center. Control center will send message in the form of nerve impulse or chemical signals to the effectors. And then the effectors will do something that will change the controlled condition. So dia akan ikut flow macam ni. So when the effector does something, it will follow this feedback system. Apa benda kah feedback system? After receiving the system, a change will occur through the feedback systems, and that can be by either enhancing the stimulus with a positive feedback. Macam contoh ni, dia mula dengan optimal level, and then controlled condition tu mungkin dia meningkat. Kalau dia meningkat, dia pergi kepada excess. With positive feedback, it will be further excess. Kalau daripada optimal level itu dia menurun, deficiency. With positive feedback, dia akan makin menurun. There will be further deficiency. This change can enhance or it can depress the stimulus with negative feedback. So kalau dia depress, say for example from here, with the excess, with negative feedback mechanism, it will have an action that corrects it and then returns it to the set point or optimal level. Kalau daripada optimal level itu dia ada turun, dia ada deficiency. With negative feedback mechanism, the correction mechanism will bring it back to that normal set point. Let's look at it one by one once again. Okay, so kalau kita mau tengok satu-satu di sini. A negative feedback mechanism is a feedback mechanism in which the response will stop or reduce the intensity of the original stimulus. So ini definisi untuk negative feedback mechanism. And it will consequently cause a change in a variable that is opposite direction to the initial change. Dia akan lawan stimulus. The output will be used to reduce the input. Apa yang effector buat adalah untuk menentang input. Output used to reduce the input. So an example of negative feedback mechanism is the regulation of blood glucose level. Kalau blood glucose level ternaik sikit, badan kita akan ambil cara untuk kas turun dia balik. Regulation of body temperature. Badan tersejuk sikit. Okay, our homeostatic, our mechanisms will make sure that it goes back to the normal range. Same thing with regulation of pH in blood and osmoregulation. Osmoregulation ni adalah mengekalkan kandungan air yang sesuai dalam badan. Osmo, water. Okay. What about positive feedback mechanism? Positive feedback mechanism is a mechanism in which the response will enhance the original stimulus. And this causes a change in variable that is in the same direction as the initial change, and the output is used to amplify or enhance the input. So one example of positive feedback mechanism is the secretion of oxytocin during childbirth. So during childbirth, it will stimulate the uterus to contract, and it will stimulate the placenta to make more prostaglandins, which would then further enhance the uterus to contract. kalau ada orang tanya, apa contoh positive feedback mechanism, kamu boleh memberikan contoh secretion of oxytocin during childbirth. So this homeostasis, the mechanism of homeostasis is kind of like a jongkang jongket, like this thing. I forgot what is the name in English. But basically, you start with a variable that is in the level that you want. Okay? Dalam badan kita akan mau variable tu untuk balance, macam ni. Bila ada imbalance, bila ada stimulus yang mengubah control condition, okay, dia akan bergerak. Pergerakan perubahan ini akan didetek oleh reseptor. Reseptor dapat maklumat dan dia akan keluarkan maklumat. The receptor will produce an input. Information will be sent along the apparent pathway to the control center. And from the control center, that information will be transferred to the output, where information is sent along the apparent pathway to the effector. Effector will have a response and feedback to influence the magnitude of stimulus and return variable to homeostasis. Basically, dia akan kasih balance balik variable. So this is a quick summary on what how the receptor, the control center, and the effector take care of the internal environment. So kita boleh bandingkan antara positive feedback dengan negative feedback. Okay, so positive feedback, the response will enhance the original stimulus. In negative feedback, the response will stop or reduce original stimulus. Feedback, the change in variable will be in the same direction to the initial change. Negative feedback, change in variable will be opposite direction of the initial change. Positive feedback, output is used to amplify the input. And in negative feedback, output is used to reduce the input. So just a quick refresh. This is the definition of homeostasis. And what you should do now is please go into the GC and do the worksheet 9.1. So pastikan kamu boleh siap dan kamu boleh buat. Latihan ini boleh juga dijadikan terus sebagai nota. Okay, so that is pretty much it for subtopic 9.1. We'll see you again in the next video for 9.2. Thank you and bye.